Hey everyone and welcome to Stryder Hearthstone. I put out new Battlegrounds videos every week with hero guides, new hero reviews, and crazy game moments. So stay up to date by hitting that subscribe button down below and the bell to turn on notifications. So Blizzard just dropped a new patch this week with a schwack load of changes to minions as well as to existing heroes. One of the heroes that got changed was Ysera. Now, her old hero power gave you one extra dragon at the beginning of your turn added to your shop, and now in addition to this, every single time you hit refresh, Bob will also add an extra dragon to your shop. Now I'm freezing the board because on turn 3 I plan to buy this elemental, sell it, and then have 3 gold left over to buy something else. Now I'm freezing the board here because Whelp is a pretty strong minion in the early game. Once you have a full board of dragons going, it's essentially 7 damage to a random minion, and plus I'm also just going to buy whatever dragon Bob throws my way. So my overall strategy for playing Ysera is to just collect pairs of dragons in the early game while the pool of dragons is still limited and there's only so many options Bob can offer you. I don't like hitting those triples too early because I'd rather save them for when I'm tier 4 and 5 to discover those higher value dragons, whereas discovering a tier 3 or tier 4 dragon is a huge waste in my opinion because in a couple turns I'll have those dragons offered to me in the shop anyways. It is a bit of a high roll strategy because you are relying on your ability to survive until those later stages, and you're also relying on your luck to hit those high value dragons upon discovering a triple. So it doesn't work every single time, but when it does work, it definitely does pay off. So there is a hangry dragon in my shop, and Rafam did go to tier 4 early, so he's probably not super strong. So I'm going to stay on tier 3, pick up that hangry dragon, and just try to make myself as strong as possible so that I can stop taking damage and hopefully get some hangry value off of him.
I think you can win this thing.
So I'm picking up my first triple now that I'm finally on tier 4. Best case scenario, I can find a Razorgore that can scale up with the rest of my board. And those might have been the worst 5s I could have possibly asked for.
Guide me. You're doing great out there.
So I found another triple in my board, and I know I want to discover a tier 6 minion, ideally a Caligos. So there's 2 things I can kind of do right now. I could either tier up, sell a minion, and pick up that Whelp, or just tier up and sit on that Whelp for an extra turn. I ended up tearing up and just sitting on that whelp for an extra turn because in this specific situation, if I sold something to buy that whelp, I would end up with 6 minions. And against Craig here, if I get unlucky and discover a bad tier 6 minion, having a golden whelp but only 5 dragons on my board is a lot weaker than having those 2 separate whelps but having 7 dragons on my board. So I just barely survived against Craig here, but that was also super unlucky for me to take 20 damage, whereas my average damage was expected to be between 10 and 18. So even though Amalgadon got nerfed slightly, he's still the best option here because my endgame is still to find a Kaligos, and if I can get a Kaligos and the Amalgadon on board, a lot of those battle cries I'm picking up to buff my dragon board will also buff up the Amalgadon. Perfect, we finally got a Kaligos, so now I can start scaling up my board.
I think you can win this thing. Your minions really pulled their weight.
So definitely not being too picky with the battle cries I can find in the shop, but it is super nice to have a lot of them synergize well with having an Amalgadon.
I have witnessed the true end time.
You're doing great out there. Nice work out there. Keep up the pressure. A good tactical choice. Better hire a recruit while you can.
Picking up the Razorgore for this next fight, even if I don't end up keeping it, because it's still a 9 attack, 11 health minion.
Building, friend. Nice work out there. Keep up the pressure.
So I decided to keep the Whelp over the Razorgore, despite the fact that in a short amount of time the Razorgore will get way bigger, because I'm not too worried about stats at this point. The Kaligos can give the rest of my board stats, but the Whelp does offer me a Hail Mary that very few other minions can, which is the ability to snipe 6 or 7 damage to 2 random minions, and in some cases this could hit a Divine Shield, or snipe a Baron, or snipe something else that's key to my opponent's board.
You're down a minion and up a gold. Better hire a recruit while you can. fate of the world hangs in the balance.
So I don't feel great fighting a beast board without a taunt to kind of direct some of those cleaves, but at this point I'm hoping that I can just outstat him, and even if I had a taunt, there's a decent chance he might kill it by the time his Cave Hydra attacks anyways. So at this point, my main priority is finding a Nadina, so I'm going to be way more picky with what battle cries I spend my gold on. I'm only going to buy functional battle cries that either do something for me, or that buff up my board in addition to the Caligos buffs.
I have witnessed the true end time.
You're good at this.
So against Rafam, I could either spend all of my gold trying to roll for Nadina, and I may or may not find one, or I have a lot of battle cries on this page. I can give myself a +6 or maybe +8 buff for my entire board. Last I fought Rafam, his entire strategy seemed to revolve around a really big Cave Hydra as his first minion, with the Majordomos buffing that up. So if that's still the same thing, he's going to run that Cave Hydra into my Taunted Malgadon, and that's going to die, and the rest of his board's not too strong, and I should be able to clean it up with the rest of my buffed up dragons.
You're good at this. You're down a minion and up a gold.
So still not able to find a Nadina, so I'm just going to try to scale up as much as I can and try to outstat him. At the end of the day, he's just playing Macaw Goldren Baron. It's just giving him stats. Hopefully my stats are big enough to compete with his stats.
Let's see if you can stay on top. Welcome back. How's it going out there?
So I got lucky here and finally found a Nadina. I considered putting it as my second last minion to let that get cleaved alongside my Malgadon, but I'm also scared that now that he knows my board, he might be tempted to throw his Myexna as his first attacker and kill off my Amalgadon, knowing that there's no mechs in the game, so it's unlikely I would be able to give it Divine Shield Taunt. So this was one of my first games playing with this new Ysera. In my opinion, I don't think she's OP or broken, but I do think that she is very, very, very strong. And I'd say she's probably a tier 2 hero now because of how easily and consistently she can find dragons and triples. Let me know down in the comments below what your experiences have been like with the new Ysera. Is she strong? Is she still weak for you guys? How have you guys been doing with her? Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button down below, and I'll see you next time in the Battlegrounds.